I'm Kyle Malnati, your host of the Calibrate Real Estate Podcast. At Calibrate, we exist to help people create generational wealth through real estate. My personal mission is to encourage, empower, and educate you by sharing best practices from business leaders that are proven winners. Broadcasting from the Mile High City, thank you for tuning in to the Calibrate Real Estate Podcast. Our esteemed guest today, Katie Brinkley. She's founder and digital marketing strategist with a company called Next Step Social Communications. She hails from my hometown, or maybe I hail from her hometown. We're both from Littleton, Colorado. And so it's always fun when we get to have a guest expert on the show that's here in the Rocky Mountain region. Katie, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on your show today.
Well, it's going to be a great discussion because we were getting prepared, and as we prep for every show, we kind of think about storylines, and the residential realtor, the commercial realtor that's out there trying to create a brand for themselves. I have found, just because I'm a practitioner and I run a boutique brokerage firm, that can be, I mean, it's literally a full-time job. And a lot of real estate agents as independent contractors are doing some things well on social media. And frankly, they're doing some things that are maybe cringeworthy or poor taste. And I think we're going to go through a discussion on what best practices are in the social media world. We'll talk about all sorts of different channels. And so we try to keep our content evergreen, but this is going to be very specific to what's applicable in 2021. Happy New Year to our podcast audience. And let's get rolling. Let's get into the discussion of social media. So Katie, someone like myself comes to you either virtually or physically in Littleton and says, what can Next Step do for me as a high performing real estate broker? What are a few things that you like to know on your end before you get started working with a client?
Yeah, so I've been doing social media since the days of MySpace. I don't know if you remember MySpace. It's about
I do.
15 years now of it, and it has evolved. It has changed, and like you said, let's talk about what we can expect to see in 2021. And I think that social media is here to stay. It's always changing, and you have to be on social media in some regard for your business. I do try to. So what I offer my coaching clients, my done for you social media clients, are those two options. I can either do the social media for you, or I can coach you and teach you how to do it. And you might say, well, what do you mean how to do it? And what I try to teach my clients is the strategy behind social media, how to be social on it, how to create ads, how to use the different platforms to your benefit so that you're not spending all day on social media, because not everyone wants to be like me and spend all day on it, especially as a realtor or a real estate agent or broker. You have other things to do other than posting on Facebook or Instagram. And what I try to teach are the ways to be successful with your time so that you are posting the best way to generate new leads and new clients for your business.
Katie, one of the things that I have experienced personally is, I think, frankly, that, and it's apropos for just anyone's lifestyle, you'll intersect with social media the way that you do walking around your neighborhood, is that you're a business professional, but then you also have a personality. And so where do you believe it makes sense to sort of differentiate or bifurcate your personal social media and your business social media? Because I think there is a very big difference, and the content that you share or the discussions you're having on either of those kind of mindsets, am I doing this personally or am I doing this professionally? That's probably the biggest thing I see real estate agents do across the nation. And some of them do it really well, of kind of bringing them into the behind the scenes of this is what the person is like behind the brand. But then others, it's confusing. And there's a great author that I really enjoy named Donald Miller from Nashville, Tennessee.
Story brand.
Yeah, building a story brand.
Yep.
Donald Miller is a great thought leader in the space. And one of the things that he says is, if you confuse, you'll lose. So let's talk about what's confusing. Let's talk about how agents can, just as they're thinking about their own social media without even hiring a consultant or a coach in the social media space, how can they maybe separate those two worlds, their personal and their professional, so that people understand what they're getting in their social media?
I'm so glad you asked this question, because I think that is one of the biggest problems and mistakes that I see agents making with their social media account, especially on Instagram. Instagram is notorious for somehow, messy, sloppy, trying to combine the two. And you can be successful of bringing out your personality while still showing, hey, I'm the realtor that you want to work with. And again, that's what I try to teach my coaching clients. It's There's ways to do it successfully, and the way that I have found the most success is through video. Video is so important, and I'm going to go back to Instagram just because it is such a visual platform. If you're a realtor and you're on Instagram, there's 5 different ways that you can post. You can post to the feed, you can post to stories, you can post to IGTV, you can post to Instagram Live, and now you can post to Reels. So that's 5 ways that you can connect with your audience and showcase your personality through your social media. Having the grid, you need to think of that. And the grid is, when you go to your homepage, you see those 9 little squares. It says the about, it has your profile picture. It's what you see in the feed when you're just scrolling through. That's considered the grid. And that is what I like to tell people. This is your gallery. When someone goes to your page or sees you pop in their feed, they instantly know what it is that you do. Stories is a great way for you to showcase your personality. Instagram TV, those are great ways to showcase more about your personal life. A good example is, let's say that you have a house that's just hit the market. And what I would try to tell you to do is, if you're a dog owner, let's take your dog for a walk in the neighborhood there and go live with it with your smartphone. People are used to seeing people holding their phone out, just talking to them. You don't need to have a video production crew following you around. This is a great way for you to showcase, hey, I'm a dog owner. Look at the walkability factor of this new listing. Over here is the dog park. You can take a picture of yourself, you and your dog, at the local dog park of your newly listed home, use a location tag, and it's going to populate, and people are going to say, hey, I have a thing, I have a Cavachon dog too, or I have a pit bull too, or whatever kind of dog it is. So there's a way for you to connect with your audience on a personal level while you're still showcasing some of your business, some of your professional life and what you have to offer.
Katie, it's great advice. And one of the things that our Calibrate crew knows about listening to our podcast is that I am happy to be the guinea pig. I'm happy to have sort of the live demo. I'm happy to admit some of my failures and struggles, and I'm just going to go there. So I'm newer to Instagram. Obviously, Facebook, it was just kind of to date myself. It was about 2010. My wife and I had already had our first child, and we sort of we just graduated college in 2004, and Facebook hadn't quite gotten to our university yet. And some of our friends that were maybe a junior or a sophomore when we were seniors, we would check in and they were telling us about this, and we're like, whatever. And I do remember MySpace and my first job. So fast back forward to 2010, I was needing to have information about my 10-year high school reunion. And Facebook was where they were doing it. And so that was where all the information was. And they were kind of trying to corral things. So I joined Facebook because of that. And I grew a personal following, but then I also grew a business account. And it's not, it's nothing. The numbers aren't staggering. I mean, there's a lot of agents that have larger followings than I do, but I've been on Facebook for over 10 years, off and on. I like Instagram better, but you had reminded me that it's really important to have both. So for some of our younger audience that maybe like, oh, Facebook's what my parents do, I don't want to be on there. Why is it important for younger realtors to understand that both Instagram and Facebook are really are linked together?
Well, first of all, let me just say that you and I are the same age, because I couldn't be on Facebook either. That is why I went all in on MySpace back when social media was getting up and running. And but yeah, I remember those days of not being able to be on Facebook. So being on Facebook and on Instagram makes sense because Facebook owns Instagram. And if you want to run ads, you need to have the Facebook Business Manager. Just creating that Facebook business page is really important because Facebook is still, one of the most crawled websites on Google. So if you're posting regularly to your Facebook page from your business account, Google will see that and it will try to send traffic there. So posting on Facebook is super duper important. Instagram is still mostly mobile. So again, it's great to have both options where people on desktop, if they want to see more, they can see more on Facebook. But the biggest reason I think you need to have both a Facebook and an Instagram is for the ads benefit of it. Um, Facebook Ad Business Manager, Facebook Ads Manager is critical. It's essential for your business, and it's a great way to find new leads and just put your face out there more. Let's say you really are digging Instagram stories, but you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to really do anything on Facebook because my audience isn't on Facebook, if that's what you think. So you can create an Instagram story ad through the Facebook Business Manager, target the audience that you want to have see that ad show up only in stories, and then have a different ad that would show up in the feed. So there's a lot of really great ways to promote yourself on Facebook, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, audience network. Once you have that Facebook Business Manager set up.
Well, and I think that's one of the concerns that anybody in our audience would probably have is there are so many different things you could get started. So Katie, you've done this a lot. You've consulted with people who are probably like me. They're like, look, I have 1,000 ideas and I'm short for time. And I want to make sure that I'm going to spend money, that there's a return on investment. If there was just one thing that you, and I realize this may be unfair, but if there's one thing that you could say that pretty much anybody could do today, what would it be that that you would suggest them to start doing well, if they were just to kind of tinker or calibrate one section of their social media persona?
Commit to it. Don't post and ghost. That is one of the worst things that I see people doing is they're like, I'm going to devote time to social media, and then life happens. And I get it. It can be hard to think of things, and all of a sudden, oh, I haven't posted in a while. I'm just going to post this random picture of my dog, and then it messes up your entire feed, the entire strategy. Sit down and commit to doing like 2 hours a week, just your social media. You can do it on a Sunday night. And there's plenty of schedulers out there. So a scheduler is a way for you to schedule content on multiple social media channels. There's a number of them out there. The one that I like the best is one called Loomly, because you can schedule stuff for Facebook, Google My Business, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. So you can schedule for a number of platforms. But I think that is another trap too, that a lot of small businesses and realtors will fall into, is they try to be on every single social media platform. Go to where your target audience is and just create amazing, consistent content on that one platform and see how it goes. And then if you feel comfortable and confident to try and add in another platform, then add that one in. But I mean, as I said earlier, there's on Instagram alone, there's 5 ways that you can create content on it. And if you decide to go all in on Instagram, that's 5 different ways of creating content. It can be overwhelming. And then if you try to add in LinkedIn and Facebook and then trying to do TikTok stuff, I mean, you're never going to want to do social media and you're going to get burnt out. So that's where I think that make the commitment to be consistent on your social media. You don't need to post every day. Post 3, 4 really high value posts per week that people are going to enjoy seeing in their feed. And that if you feel comfortable, start doing stories. I think that there's so much power in video, that's where I really think that if you want to try and do one thing, commit to doing one platform successfully. And then from there you can branch out because you'll find new leads and new customers.
That's great advice. So let's talk about video, because video is something that I've done for quite some time. I won't say I'm doing it perfectly or the best way or whatever, but it's something that I really latched on to 10 years ago, frankly. And what are some do's and don'ts as it relates to video? I realize that there's some timing related issues, right? I mean, people are not going to sit and listen or watch a 60-minute video. You've got to be a pretty pretty strong thought leader to really command that type of attention for someone, especially on a mobile platform like Instagram. So what are some do's and don'ts as it relates to video? If someone says, okay, Katie, I agree, I'm going to commit, and I'm going to do kind of that combo of Instagram and Facebook so that I can kind of see. And that's, as a business owner, that is so important to me. If you're posting, if you're spending time, I want to know, what is the traffic? What's the return on that investment of your time? Because most people really devalue or just don't think of the time that they're spending to do something. And I want to know, did people see it? So if we're going to focus on video, how long is the video? What are we talking about? Where do you put it? How do you recycle that content appropriately? Those are a bunch of different questions related to video.
Yeah, and I think that they're all great questions, and I think that we'll just stick on Instagram because it's because there are so many ways that you can post on it. So if you want to do an Instagram live, you can just do a 10-minute Instagram live of you setting up for an open house. It doesn't need to be you sitting down, reading a script. Okay, now everyone, I'm going to be taking some questions. I mean, people are used to having more of a laid back feel. And if you're doing an Instagram live of you showing yourself walking around, getting things set up for the open house that you're getting ready to do, people are starting to see the background, like, oh, well, look at that kitchen. That's a pretty cool kitchen. So they're seeing you in work while you're working. They're seeing you in your element and what your process is. And it's really just you setting up for an open house, something that you're going to have to do anyways. I also think that using Instagram stories is a great way to show up consistently. Those are only 15 seconds long, and well, one section can be 15 seconds long. You can add as many as you want, but if you only want to talk for a minute, that's 4 little snippets of you talking, and you can add some captions into it very easily. And I think that it's a great way for you to just show up regularly, tell people what you're doing, giving them a behind the scenes look, whether it's, again, like you taking your dog for a walk at the dog park for a new listing, or showing the walkability factor, or doing a quick tour around the new property that you have. I think those are great ways to just kind of show up. Stories are great too, because it's a great way to practice, because they're gone in 24 hours. If you're like, oh my God, that sounded terrible, trust me, it didn't. You showed up, and that is the hardest thing, just showing up. And when you start showing up, people look forward to seeing you show up in their feeds. And then like you said, oh, I want to make sure that enough people are seeing my video. There's a lot of silent observers out there that might not be liking on your post. They might not be commenting on it, but they're watching. And the people that are watching are going to be remembering you the next time that they think, I need to buy or sell a property, or, oh, my brother needs to buy or sell a property. You're going to be top of mind because you're consistently showing up in front of them through video and showcasing your personality and how you work professionally.
One of the things I really like about social media is it's a great way to generate ideas about content that you can produce on your own. And some people might think of it that research and development is rip off and duplicate. As one of my business colleagues used to say, R&D is. Uh, who are some people that you like on Instagram that you think are doing it really well? It doesn't have to be in the real estate space, but could be influencers that you feel like, okay, they have, if you want to just understand how to do it well, this person or these companies are doing Instagram videos very well, or their social platform is very good on Instagram.
One realtor that I think is doing a fantastic job is, her name is Alexandria Reed. She's very consistent in showing up in her stories. She does a lot of conversation starters. So let's say you don't want to show up on video that day. You can do just a conversation starter of this or that, where you show a mountain property or a beach property. Which one would you take? And then people get to choose. And it's ways, again, for you to consistently show up in front of your audience and get that engagement, so that the more people engage with your posts, the more the Instagram algorithm is going to be pushing it out to the rest of your followers and the people that are, if you're using hashtags, that are you looking for those hashtags. So if people are engaging with your content, that is fantastic. And she does a great job with it. I wish I could say that she was a past client of mine, but she is not. She's just a realtor that's doing a very good job. If you're looking for an Instagram person to follow, that always has a bunch of great tips. I really enjoy the Instagram expert. She is always showing up authentically through video and through live, through YouTube. I mean, she's always knocking it out of the park with video and stories. And obviously, for alluding to her name, she's got Instagram down. So if you're looking for some great tips on someone to follow that knows Instagram, she is a great resource.
I love both of those suggestions. And I just have to think the Instagram expert, what mountains did she move? What dollar amount did she pay to have that particular wording? Or maybe she just got in that early that she was able to capture that. But what a great, I mean, I'm sure that people
Yeah.
Google that all the time.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that, yeah, that's she's a wealth of knowledge, and she's been doing Instagram marketing specifically for 8 years, and she's always finding ways, unique ways to interact and engage with her audience, and I think that she's a great resource for people that are new to Instagram and want to just try and figure out new ways to try and utilize the platform.
Katie, I'm gonna go to the don'ts. I'm gonna go to the maybe the cringeworthy. I'll share that I had a private conversation with two of my friends. They're both real estate broker owners. And so this was sort of a compliance. This was definitely a PR discussion. And it was just a few weeks ago. So this is a relevant recent conversation where one of the people, I won't name names or anything like that, was sharing that they have a social media policy within their brokerage about what their agents can and can't post. And it's sort of a decorum. I think back to my days in college with fraternities and sororities of this is unbecoming of your fraternity or unbecoming of your sorority. And now you're in trouble and you've got to go see the board of discipline or whatever. So uh, this particular conversation, it kind of makes me laugh because I just don't think this way, but there was an agent within a company that was posting not just one too many, but like on the regular bubbles and bubbles photos of, legs out in the tub with rosé. And this is this is unbecoming as a professional. It's that discussion that we've been having of where does personal and professional intersect. And part of it's like, be a pro, realize that, yes, we all may take a bubble bath at times and have an adult beverage, but that doesn't need to be part of your thing. And so that's one real like kind of cringy example. And I was like, I didn't even think that would be a thing. We've never had to deal with that. So what are some of these things that are clearly, if you're trying to demonstrate yourself as a professional, some things to just stay away from? And these may be super obvious, but just things that you have seen, you're like, oh my goodness, they need someone to come alongside them and say, stop doing that, please.
Well, and like you were saying, like the cringy bubble bath photo. Yeah, I would not recommend doing that in your feed as a real estate agent. However, how can you, if that, let's say that is your thing, like you're the bubble bath realtor, that's what you want to be known as, and that you want to target that type of audience, or the rosé realtor. So all of your pictures have a glass of rosé in them. That's great if that's incorporated to the rest of your feed. So make sure that the captions, while maybe it's a picture of you in the bubble bath, how is that giving your followers value? Always try and think in the back of your mind, like, yeah, I'm relaxed right now and I'm taking a bath, but how is this going to resonate with anyone that's going to want to do business with me? How are they going to enjoy seeing me relaxing, showing up in their feed? One of the things I think a lot of real estate agents fall into, it's a trap of posting the exact same thing all of the time of just listed, just sold, pending, or coming soon. And that's it. There's no personality behind it. Yeah. Or if they do have any personality, it's a picture of them driving their BMW, holding their Gucci purse, and wearing their Prada dress. It is fantastic that you are successful, but who are you trying to resonate with? Who is your target audience? And is that going to be a turnoff for some potential sellers or buyers? Like, oh gosh, like I don't, I just drive a Jeep. She's out of my league. I could never work with her. She would never want to sell my house. She only sells $1 million houses or whatever. I think that know who your audience is and try to find ways to connect with them. Again, always trying to come back to the value statement. The just listed, the just sold, all that stuff, it gets repetitive in the feed and it seems braggy. that's where you need to find different ways to connect with your audience. Those type of posts are great, but you need to find other ways to fill the feed and engage with them and connect with them and showcase what makes you different from the 20,000 other realtors in your city. I mean, there's more realtors every day throughout the country. What's going to make you stand out from the crowd? And maybe it is the occasional, instead of having a just sold picture, maybe it is you in the bubble bath with the rosé, and you're talking about the process though in your caption of selling the house, how these people came to you, and all of the legwork you needed to do. So a bubble bath at the end of, finally closing this listing means everything to you. So that's where you can try to work in those, maybe those cringy photos, but try to find ways to separate yourself from the crowd.
Great advice, Katie. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to say someone's listening to this. They've sort of been a fly on the wall and heard a live discussion about how you consult with brands. How do they get in touch with you? How do they share that they need some help? And what are some of the ways that you actually consult with different real estate agents?
Yeah, so you can get in touch with me on my website. I do have a free video training right now. It's at katiebrinkley.com. Obviously, I'm on social media, so feel free to check me out. I'm on Instagram at next.sep.social and on Facebook and LinkedIn too. But I think that that's one of the things too is that I really try to hone in on with all my clients is try to still maintain that professionalism, but stand out from the crowd in some way and find ways that, because everyone's different in some way, what's going to make someone want to work with you from all the other realtors out there.
I love that suggestion. And as I think about this, I was kind of preparing for this. My top 9, we just passed the new year, and that's something that a lot of people do on different social channels. My top 9 was quite interesting to me. I mean, I know which posts over the past year on my Instagram specifically were the ones that got the most likes and commentary and all that. But when I saw them all displayed as one photo, it was really interesting. And so I'm going to walk you through this. It may or may not be a surprise, but I have tried to brand myself, and it's part of just my nature is I'm the lead by example guy. I'm the work hard, do the extra for my client, go the extra mile. And so my top couple of photos that were in the top 9 were selfies, some with a mask, some without, depending on what time of year it was, of me sort of with a contractor doing something as it related to getting a house fixed up. And it's not like Chip and Joanna Gaines style fixing things up or Studio McGee stuff. I mean, this is like me supervising a sewer line replacement, and saying this is what we had to do. And it's 2 months after closing. And I found that to be very interesting that was sort of the most commented and liked content. And then I also saw some travel stuff in there too, which was very interesting, obviously prior to the pandemic, but just some like coffee mug and, my briefcase, and there's snow on the ground. And I'm like, it's, 4 a.m. and I'm getting ready to go fly to see a client or whatever. And so I found those to be just real interesting. And is any of that resonate to you as to, I did a lot of posts this year, but those were some of the common themes that I saw besides maybe some family photos.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me because it's showcasing you doing your work, you as a professional. And again, that's what people, especially as a realtor, like they're doing business with you and they're making one of the biggest purchases that they probably are ever going to make. They have to know, like, and trust you. Why do they want to work with you? How do they connect with you? And that's you showing up regularly, whether it's with a mask or showcasing, you with a coffee mug, like off to start the day. That is all stuff where people are like, yeah, there's my guy. That's him being him, going out and killing it and making money and doing what he can for his clients and customers. That's what they liked the most. And I'm not saying to not post pictures of your listings. I mean, that's great marketing. But I think that, again, trying to find ways for you to consistently show up in front of your audience, that's what's going to increase your leads. And that's what's going to build more customers for you. Because people are going to feel like they're doing business with a friend. They might have never met you. Like I've never met Alexandra Reed, but I like her feed. I think it's very pretty. I have not met the Instagram expert again, but I like her feed, and every time I go to it, she's giving me value and tips. So I think that that is a great way to find people that you've never met, and when you're showing up in the feed like that, they're going to feel like they're doing business with a friend.
Katie, great advice. And it is important to think about the singular person that you're trying to, and some people call it an avatar, some people call it an ideal client. And if you're a real estate agent that has done business for any period of time, you know who these people are. You know that it's this particular profile. And I think we're in a society right now appropriately where we want to make sure that we're diverse. We're making sure that everybody's got a fair shot, but just your personality naturally sells to another personality very well. And so I think
Mhm.
that if you can think of a few of your best clients and post like you'd be communicating just to that one person, it feels to
Mhm.
me like that might be a helpful exercise as someone is embarking on how to create a business within social media that helps their real estate business.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Know who you're talking to. Don't that This is something that I've had to work on. Is know who you're talking to, know who your audience is, because when you do, and you're not trying to sell to everyone, and okay, well, I do social media for people in the home industry. It makes it a lot easier for you to have those conversations, because you know who you're talking to, and they know I'm the person that they want to talk to. So it makes it much easier, especially as a real estate agent, when you know who your ideal client is, your avatar is, and just put out the content that they want. Facebook, Instagram, they will give you data on who your followers are, what their ages are, what time that they're on, if it's mostly men or women. And that is something too that I try to kind of teach my clients is, let's say that you have a really strong following on Instagram that is predominantly women. Let's say it's 60% women, ages 35 to 44. But on Facebook, it is a lot older. Let's say it's 55 and up, and it's 50-50 men, women. You can craft your message and the posts that go out for that age demographic, for more women. So let's say it has a really pretty like pantry at this new listing. You can post that on Instagram and talk about like, oh man, this is an amazing pantry, da 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 da. Look at how organized it is. Who would like to have this pantry for their kitchen? What can you imagine stocking up in here, or anything like that? And you can speak exactly who your audience is on that channel.
Katie, you would be speaking directly to my wife's love language. She is organized. She loves to stock stuff. And yeah, that's a great idea. It's something that someone that's married to someone that obviously appreciates that. I've never made a post like that before. And I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, I'm missing that organized person because I'm just not naturally, I feel like I've got a decent level of organization, but that's not something that really speaks to me. That's not one of my core values or core things that is just important to me is having everything perfectly appointed. So when you see it, and as an agent, we see it all, whether you're showing a house that's a listing of yours or you're touring a house that's not a listing of yours. If you see something that maybe takes away some of the personal things that might be in someone's house that they wouldn't want to have shared, that's a great way of just capturing an audience and having a discussion about organization. Really great
Hmm.
strategy. Very, very good. I think of an acronym that it's funny how podcasts work out. This is sort of one of those things that was unintentional, but it came through the discussion of how great podcasts are, where things just kind of organically come up. And I'm having this conversation with a social media influencer named Rebecca Donatelli in episode 80. If that's not someone you're following, Katie, I would suggest it because she's doing Instagram really well, and she's grown a huge audience and wrote a book all related to it as a real estate agent in Ohio. So Rebecca and I are chatting, and some of the things that you were sharing with me started to come up, and I just kind of like said this, and I want to share it with you and see what lands because you're an expert and obviously this is your profession. So I came up with the acronym CARE. And I don't know if it's unique to me, but I just came up with it at that time, and I've continued to discuss it as it relates to Instagram. So the C in CARE is consistent, the A is authentic, the R is reach, and the E is engage. So I
Yep.
heard you say a lot of those different things. The one that I want to focus on last before we get to behind the scenes, Katie, the personal part of Katie, I would like for you to answer the reach part of it, Katie, because I think that is something that causes people to decide not to post any longer, as they feel like they're maybe not getting the reach, or they're not getting the following or the likes or the commentary that they expect. And maybe you can help that person understand what is important.
Mhm.
Great commentary may be more important than likes or whatever. So let's focus on the R part of that acronym, reach, and what your suggestions to someone might be if they're maybe feeling discouraged about the lack of following or the lack of commentary.
So this is one thing I tell all of my clients to don't get wrapped up in the followers. Really don't get wrapped up in the followers. It's more important to have, let's say, 500 really true advocates of your brand. Like those followers, those 500 followers tell you about your friends, your family. They're your biggest advocates. They're buying from you on a regular basis. It's great to have those 500 people instead of 50,000 who don't comment, don't engage, don't do anything on your page. Don't worry about your follower count. The followers will come when you start showing up authentically and consistently. That is the biggest thing I have to say, is don't worry about that. But the biggest thing with reach, the way that you're going to find more clients, get your reach up, and get new followers is by being social on social media. I don't know if you've ever been to a dinner party and you found yourself trapped in a conversation with someone that just won't stop talking about him or herself, and you look around kind of hoping that someone would come to your rescue, but nobody's there. And this other person just keeps rattling on and on and on about his life story and never stops to ask you a single question about yourself or what you do or how your life is going, what challenges you have going on right now. Those are the worst type of conversations, right? And so that's what so many realtors are doing. They're only talking about themselves. They're talking to their audience. They're not having a conversation and being social on it. You can't just go on to Instagram, do a post, and then walk away for 5 days. It's a platform that you do need to be active on. You do need to be social on. Be there for when someone comments. Answer them. Someone spent the time out of their day to comment on your picture. Answer them. Say, yeah, this is a great listing. How would you organize this space, or whatever the picture is relating to? I think that is a great way to expand your reach, because the more people that stop on your page and engage with it, and you then respond to it, Instagram's going to say, oh, this page is doing fantastic. Let's show it to more people. Let's keep pushing it out. If you're on the platform being social and commenting on other people's posts, that's a great way to expand your reach. Because if I comment on someone else's post, let's say I'm checking out the Calibrate Real Estate Instagram page, and you have a fantastic picture of you with in the cool kitchen, and they say, oh my gosh, I love those granite countertops, and then you respond. People will then, who have already seen your post, will then see me, Next Step Social, engaging with it. And maybe I piqued their interest. Well, who's Next Step Social? I'm going to go check them out. Then they come to my page and they say, oh, well, she has all sorts of fantastic social media tips. I want to follow her, or I'm going to check out this post that she did and like it or comment on it. And that is how you're going to expand your reach. That's how you're going to build your brand. It's being social on social media, and it's one of the most important things that you can do if you are going to actually invest in it. I think that, without getting too long-winded here, the best way to expand your reach is to develop a strategy. Make the commitment to, just let's say, 2 hours every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. You're going to plan out the 3 posts for that week. And then from there, really all you have to do is just go in 10 minutes a day and engage with it, or comment on it. Engage with other people in your feed. Engage with those hashtags, those ever important hashtags. That's another great way to expand your reach, is by utilizing 30 hashtags. And that's a whole nother podcast episode, but that's how you're going to expand your reach, get new clients, get new followers, and really see social media start working for you.
It's great information. The analogy of being the person stuck in a conversation that you're like, oh, this is totally one-sided and someone save me. It's been a year of not having gatherings and things like that. So it's probably a great reminder of, when you've had that situation. And so don't do that to your audience, right?
Hmm.
And that's how we care. That's why the acronym, I think, is apropos. When you care for
It's a
your
great
audience,
acronym.
yeah, you're going to have this feeling of what would they want to have in a two-way conversation. So thanks so much for diving deep into the reach part of it. I think that it's so important, Katie, just to realize that even though this is digital, it's going to be the exact same experience that you would have if you were trying to be social around your neighborhood or in your friend group. And one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard is, if you want to have more friends, be a friend, be
Yeah.
someone that is approachable. So again, that CARE acronym: consistent, authentic, reach, and engage. All right. You ready for our rapid fire kind of last two questions
Yeah,
here on
let's
the
do it.
Calibrate podcast? All right. So the Calibrate Real Estate podcast wants to always know how you've made some improvements throughout your life and how you're looking forward to living a better life on a daily basis. So the first question that I ask all of the guests that I have on the show, Katie, at the very end, is this idea of Dear Younger Me. It comes from a song that I really like. And what's not in the song is something that I've dubbed as the advice you wish you knew when you're 22. But the writer of the song is basically saying, these are all the things that I would love to have known now that I've lived some life if I was in my early 20s. And so if you have some advice for our audience, Katie, about things that you wish maybe you knew, or things that you have observed and would give advice to someone in their early 20s getting their start.
Believe in yourself. Absolutely believe in yourself. Never stop learning. I've had my dream job now 3 times. Out of college, I wanted to be a sports reporter, and I got that job. I was a sports reporter at 850 KOA. And then life took me down a different path. And then all of a sudden, I was a marketing manager for the Colorado Rockies television station. I had a great boss, amazing coworkers. I would go to Rockies games on my lunch break. And then my position was eliminated across the country. So all 4 divisions, the position was eliminated. Never stop learning, because if I would have stopped and not believed in myself, I wouldn't be where I am today, because I'm happier now. This is my new dream job. I'm my own boss. I love what I do. I love my clients. I'm able to pick my hours and be at home. I have 2 daughters. I'm able to be at home with them. And one thing I try to consistently do is believe in myself and never stop learning, especially in social media, because it is always changing.
Wow. And for those who are not from Colorado, 850 KOA is the 50,000 watt blowtorch. It's the home of the Denver Broncos, which are a huge deal here in Colorado. It's the home of the Colorado Rockies. Every game is on 850 KOA, and it's where some of the best talk radio is done. So huge, and to feel like you're there, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it changed. But then also to be working with the Rockies, I mean, what a cool thing. And now to be working on your own. I mean, it just shows the evolution as we calibrate through life. There's going to be seasons of time that all of a sudden just you feel like that was your dream job, and now you've got a new assignment. So I'm glad that you shared that, because I think someone in their 20s, I can imagine, having been in my 20s at one point, that you're like, I want to get it right. I want to figure it out right now. And I want that to be my career arc for the next 60 years. And you say, okay, well, that's maybe not too realistic. So I appreciate that advice. Last question, and it developed as an iteration from the first question. So I was asking my career coach, a guy named Chris Oakley, that same Dear Younger Me question. And Chris answered the question with this idea of, he was in a mentoring group in his 20s, and the leader of the mentoring group had everybody read a book called The Principle of the Path by Andy Stanley. And that book, you were required to do this exercise of writing your own obituary, which seems a little bit morbid. And ironically, what happened is Chris wrote his own obituary and lived that out for the following 10 years, from his mid 20s to his mid 30s. And last year tragically passed away in a hunting accident. And so what I had observed with a life that you can see that at sometimes when someone passes away early, you kind of think, oh, wow, they were living on mission and so much maybe unfulfilled potential, but they were just kind of doing their thing. And Chris is a real important guy to me. And so I've made this as a memorial to him now, where I ask people, what do you want your legacy to be when you're older and your daughters, might be delivering a eulogy that's a little bit more personal, what would you hope that they would remember you by, Katie?
That I was a fun mom. That like I said, I never imagined opening up my own business here, and the reason that I did was so that I could be at home with my daughters more and be there for carpool drop off and pick up, and take them skiing, or take them to the zoo during non-COVID times, and just spend that time with them. And I hope I embarrass them on a regular basis because I'm pretty goofy, and I hope that that's one of the things that they'll remember me by. That I worked hard, but I always made time for them.
I love that. And as a father of three, I feel the same way. And you have this tension. It doesn't always have to feel like a tension, but you've got your work and your home life, and being able to do both together, I think, is a really beautiful thing. So I'm glad that that's a focus of yours. It's something that I share as well. And I don't always feel like I do it right, but I think it's a wonderful way to end our show. And I think to tie it into social media for just a moment, one last little coaching tidbit. What are some ways that you think are appropriate ways to involve your kids in social media? Because I do see a lot of people posting photos of their family. And so do you have any just observations about that? I'm sure that's something you think about as well.
I do, and I mean it's such a careful line that you have to try to cross, or to walk. I mean, I rarely have pictures of my girls in my posts. If I do, it's almost only in stories, because they're gone in 24 hours, just to kind of showcase, like, hey, I am a mom too. Like, I hear you. I know how hard it is trying to balance the work from home and the schooling from home. And so I think that if it makes, again, always try and think in your mind, like, is this on brand? Um, Before you go and post. If you're trying to be the family realtor, showcase pictures of your family, but just remember that it is out there for anyone in the world to see. And I mean, I try to, like I said, I only post to stories with my girls because I don't want my daughters on Instagram, and Facebook and all that for everyone to see just yet. So I want to keep them a little bit closer to my chest for a little bit longer.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think that is an important discussion for business owners, because there is such a blending and blurring, if you will, of where your personal life and your professional life may begin and end. And so, Katie, it's just a great discussion. Thank you so much. If people want to connect with you again, how do they find you on Instagram? And of course, how do they get a consultation set up with Next Step Social Communications?
Yep, I am on Instagram at next.step.social. I have a free video training right now. It's at katiebrinkley.com. And if you want to connect with me, just I'm on all the social media platforms. Just shoot me a DM, or you can go to my website and fill out the whole contact form. But again, if you just shoot me a DM, I will respond to you.
Katie, thanks so much for being a part of our show. I'd be remiss if I didn't share with our audience. Of course, if this resonated with you, please subscribe. Please just simply text the link to this episode to someone that you think might need to hear it. Of course, rate the show. We're above 50 ratings now, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, which we love getting all the commentary there. So that would be a huge just benefit and blessing for us if this show resonated with you. Katie Brinkley, founder and digital marketing strategist of Next Step Social Communications. Thank you for being on the Calibrate Real Estate podcast. And as I love to say, we will see you around the neighborhood. Thanks, everyone.